Ravens flock, what's going on? What's going on? I hope everybody's having a good day so far. We are only a few weeks away from the season getting started. We got one more preseason game against the Buccaneers in a couple days. We'll see how that plays out. But then we're only a couple weeks away from the season getting started. This will be a special year. We all know it. But one reason it's going to be special is was just announced earlier today at the Ravens on October 22nd when we're playing the Detroit Lions. During that game, the Ravens will be inducting Terrell Suggs, aka T Sizzle, aka Hacksaw, aka the Valedictorian of Ball So Hard University. They will be inducting him into the Ring of Honor, and it's obviously well deserved. So often when we talk about some of the greatest players in the history of the Ravens defense, players like Terrell Suggs and Haloti Nada do often get overlooked. But again, we can't forget just how dominant Terrell Suggs was throughout the time of his career. All time in NFL history, Terrell Suggs is eighth all time in sacks with 139. And even on like the unofficial list, meaning the list of players that they count before 1982 based off of estimations, because 1982 is when they started counting sacks officially. Even on that unofficial list, he's still 12th all time, but on the official list, he is 8th all time. Obviously, he won a Super Bowl with us. He also won one with Kansas City a couple years ago, which was the last time he was seen in the NFL. He won Defensive Player of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year. I'm actually surprised he only made the All Pro. He was only voted All Pro one time. I figured he would have got it multiple times, but still, nonetheless, he's an All Pro caliber player. He's tied for 11th all time for fumbles recovered. He's also the NFL's all time leader in tackles for loss with 202 tackles for loss. So it's obviously well deserved. He had a very underrated career. And it gives even more context to why a couple months ago, when David Ojabo was trying to change that number, his number to 55, Terrell Suggs said no. And then also it makes sense why the Ravens didn't even bother allowing him to do this, because we probably already planned on retiring Terrell's number for probably months ago. Probably, who knows, maybe years ago. They might have been planning it for a while. But either way, it makes more sense now, obviously. It wouldn't make sense seeing anybody else in that number anyway. Just like if you saw someone wearing number 52, it would just seem too weird. There's too many like there's too many moments to like think back on to really say one particular one is my favorite. I know for most people, their favorite is that interception that he caught between his legs that like was stuck like kind of jammed in between his thighs. I put that one on the thumbnail. For me, like I don't have one particular favorite memory. It was just always a pleasure to see him knock out Andy Dalton or Ben Roethlisberger. Anytime that happened, I was a happy camper. It's still crazy in hindsight to think about just just the fact that we had at one point we had Terrell Suggs, Haloti Nada, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, like all these guys just stacked up on one defense. Obviously, that's part of the reason so many Ravens fans are Ravens fans, which was it was a pleasure to watch. But the one downside, obviously, is it set a lot of Ravens fans' expectations too high for what they wanted. Because I do believe, even though not enough people talk about it, I do believe part of the reason so many people are ready to give up on players like Odafe Owe and not give him enough time to grow. I do believe part of the reason for that is because when you have players like Terrell Suggs, who came right out the gate, guns blazing, putting up 12 sacks in his rookie year, like it set the standard so high to where people think everybody else is gonna have a career trajectory that goes that well and gets off to that good of a start, which for most players isn't that realistic. But another downside to it is a lot of people get too caught up in the nostalgia. Like I did a video like sometime last year when we got Roquan, where I said made the point that you have to let go of the 2000s. It wasn't meant, and now when I did that, it wasn't meant to disrespect the players from the 2000s. It wasn't even meant to disrespect the players from today, but it was still just to make the point that a lot of Ravens fans are really hoping that we can magically bring back the 2000s Ravens. Like I've even in the like recent months, I've seen creators like put out videos trying to like compare guys we have now to Ray Lewis and some of these other guys, and it's just ridiculous. Like I said in that video the first time, you're never gonna bring it back. Number one, the odds of you having that much Hall of Fame talent on one roster at the same time, it's extremely low. But also, more importantly, we are playing in a completely different NFL now. Half of the hits that they got away with in 2002, 2003, 2000, 2010, you get my point I'm trying to make. Half of the hits that they were getting away with in those eras are simply not going to fly in 2023 and beyond. It's not going to happen. It's really not going to happen. You can make eye contact with Patrick Mahomes, and just the eye contact alone is a 15-yard penalty. They're not gonna let a 2000s Ravens come back or a 1985 Bears come back or like any iconic defense in NFL history. Then like they're not interested in letting that come back. But nonetheless, it's still exciting to see that Terrell Suggs can get that honor. He hasn't gotten into the Hall of Fame yet. I'm positive that he will get into the Hall of Fame. It would only make sense. Again, he's one of the greatest edge rushers that ever lived. So we'll see kind of what happens with that. But let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. What was your favorite Terrell Suggs moment? And do you think Terrell Suggs will be a first ballot Hall of Famer, or do you think he may have to wait a while?